the Korongee collection. G'day and welcome to Forgotten Tasmania. I'm John Stevenson. I was asked to provide some photos for a new dementia village in Derwent Park. The photos were to decorate the houses in which the residents would live. They told me that it was being built on land that had once been a farm called Korongee, and that would be the name of the completed nursing home. I asked my historian friend Colin Dennison about the old farm property. He lives nearby and the area is his favourite subject. Cole told me that Korongee was a farm property that used to front onto Old Main Road at what's now the Telstra building. He even had photos of it. But where did the name Korongee come from? In the 1890s, Frederick Butler and his wife Emma owned the land. They built the homestead which was given the name Korongee by Emma, possibly to remind her of where she grew up on her family property Korongee, which was located near Mount Korong in Victoria. Korong is an Aboriginal word meaning boat or canoe. A 1932 property listing in the Mercury newspaper describes Korongee as all that fine property situated on the main road at Derwent Park, comprising some 22 acres or thereabouts, of which 8 acres are under orchard, apricots, apples, etc., and the balance good grass paddocks. On the property stands an 8-room dwelling fully equipped with all conveniences, a working man's cottage, usual outbuildings, the whole in good order. According to Colin, it was abandoned and derelict, and the Korongee homestead burned to the ground around 2005. In 2007, workers discovered remains of the Old Main Road on the northern border of the property. This was a convict road built around 1818, being the first road constructed from Hobart town, and it ran all the way to New Norfolk. In 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, the developers of the dementia village asked me if I could do the artwork for a new main entrance. This was going to be a huge glass door, and they wanted a semi-transparent mural. I had a photo taken from the original Korongee front door, and this was the obvious choice. Now you walk through my mural and back in time. I just love it so much. I'm delighted to be a small part of Korongee. The concept's fantastic and it heralds a new way of respecting our loved ones living with dementia. The photos in the living units were carefully selected based on the themes to support the well-being of the residents. For example, those that have lived as nurturers are surrounded by images of nurturing activities, whereas the more adventurous have outdoor photos on their walls. I'm going to show you the photos they chose and tell you a little bit about each photo, because every photo has a story. K. Jordan furniture removals. Oh, the joys of moving house. At least they used to have men in suits and dust coats to do the job in style. The sign on the truck says 69 King Street, Sandy Bay, but the building behind doesn't look like Sandy Bay at all. The photographer also removed the sign writing from the building, although the words printers and bookbinders remain. So it wasn't Jordan's building that the truck was outside. The rest is a mystery. Maybe you can help. Fly fishing, Derwent Valley. From 1864, when the trout hatchery opened at Plenty, fly fishing has been a very popular sport in Tasmania, attracting some famous visitors to the state. The beauty of this photo is that it could be any time, any river, 2 mates and the dog enjoying fishing. The bag looks full. I wonder what they caught. Tin bending machine, Moona State School. From the 1950s onwards, many migrants were drawn to Tasmania to start a new life post-war. They brought with them metalworking and other trade skills that greatly benefited our state. The hydro, housing, main roads and construction departments all expanded with the influx of talented workers. Our schools started teaching trades, and this photo shows us the Moona State School metal workshop. Apple packing in the Huon Valley, 1930s. The first apple tree was planted in Van Diemen's Land in 1788 by William Bligh. Apples became a popular export, and Tasmania was known as the Apple Isle. The industry peaked in the 1930s, around the time of this photo. Thousands of Tasmanians were employed. The Henry Jones Company, Cascade and others made various products, such as IXL jams, mercury cider and sparkling apple juice. Cadbury's workers. Founded in 1922, the location at Claremont was chosen because Tasmania had plentiful, inexpensive hydroelectricity and world-class fresh milk. The factory provided employment for generations of Tasmanians. Note the ladies with matching handbags and the gentlemen with the lunch pail. Repat Hospital for the Duke's visit. His Royal Highness Prince Albert, Duke of York, visited the Repatriation Hospital, Hobart, on Sunday, April 17, 1927 at 12:20 p.m, giving us a precise date and time for this photo. He became King George V in 1936 and was succeeded by his daughter Queen Elizabeth in 1952. IXL. Established in Hobart in 1891, the Henry Jones Company produced jams and tin fruit, among other products. The name is said to have come from Henry Jones himself, who said, "I will excel in everything I do." There was at least one other company using the name prior, but it seems Henry excelled at marketing as well as business. The company name is still operating well over 100 years later. Hobart High School. Established in 1916, it was renamed Hobart High Matriculation College in 1965, and then Hobart Matriculation College in 1966, and it's now called Hobart College and located on top of Mount Nelson. It was the first in the college system catering for years 11 and 12 only, a system not unique to Tasmania but certainly not common elsewhere around Australia. Several premiers, politicians and at least one princess are listed as noted alumni, and me. Ice Skating National Park. It's strange that Tasmania has a town called National Park, which is located next to a national park. But there was no distinction between the two. In 1947, the park, which had been proclaimed in 1916, was renamed Mount Field National Park. The ski lodge was very popular with Tasmanians, and this photo must have been taken on one of the mountain tarns. Government House Hobart. This is the fourth building to be called Government House Hobart. The first was at Risdon Cove in 1803, followed by a wooden building at Barrack Square and a brick building at now Elizabeth Street in Hobart, roughly between the current Town Hall and the Franklin Square. This beautiful Gothic Revival sandstone mansion, designed by colonial architect William Porden Kay, was completed in 1857. It has 73 rooms, including a legendary wine cellar. Mixed badminton team, 1930s. A Miss Houghton came to Launceston in 1923 and is credited with starting interest in the sport. The first North-South match was held in 1929, and this could well be the photo that we're looking at now, the winning teams. Unfortunately, the original glass plate negative was damaged by chemicals, and so it's not clear enough to make out the inscription on the trophy. G.P. Fitzgerald & Co., Collins Street, Hobart. George Parker Fitzgerald founded G.P. Fitzgerald, a Tasmania-wide department store in the mid-1880s. The company existed as G.P. Fitzgerald & Co. Limited until 1918, but it was taken over in 1911 and became part of Charles Davis Limited. It stayed in control of the Davis family until it was taken over in 1971 by Sir Donald Trescothick. At the peak, the company was Australia's fourth largest retailer. The company was renamed Harris Scarf Holdings Limited in 1995. Coonamble, Mount Wellington and Hobart City as seen from Victoria Dock. This beautiful photo features so many of Hobart's historic buildings, such as the Customs House, which is now the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery. The lack of cars and road surface plus power wires dates this around 1920. Cascade Hut, Coonamble, Mount Wellington. After a long and difficult colonial period, in 1882 the people of Tasmania were granted public holidays for the first time. Some took to the mountain slopes and built holiday cottages. There they entertained visitors with fine food, high tea, sports and music. There was competition to see which hut could be the best. One of the best known was the Cascade Hut. Grass Tree Hut, Coonamble, Mount Wellington. This bridge at the Grass Tree Hut was one of the first and set the tone for hut building, which peaked in 1905 and ceased at the start of the Great War in 1914. Macquarie Street, Hobart. the Government Tourist Bureau, now Treasury, the magnificent GPO building, but no CML building. Seaplane on the Derwent, 1930s. Powered flight was born with the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903. Less than 40 years later, a commercial air service to Hobart was established. Prior to that, all arrivals were by sea. Built in Kent, UK in 1935, this plane, Centaurus, was obtained by Qantas in 1938. Tennis team, collegiate school, 1934. 3 of these young ladies appear to be unhappy, while one is smiling. Does that tell us something? Sport and physical activity was an important part of the education system in 1934. The Ross Bridge. Believed to be the only stone bridge in the world with carvings all the way around the arches on both sides. It was officially opened by Governor Arthur in 1836 and features a rather cheeky parody of him. For 6 years, the best professional engineers and stonemasons cheated and stole and failed to build a bridge. Governor Arthur sent a Viking to investigate, and then 2 convicted criminals built this magnificent bridge in just over a year, or so the story goes. The original AMP building on the corner of Elizabeth and Collins Streets, Hobart, although Colin Dennison tells me there was another building on this site before this one. Designed by Henry Hunter and built in 1884, the arches were added in 1913. The building was demolished in 1968 for construction of Hobart's tallest building at the time, the modern office tower we see today, known as the NAB building. The sandstone archway was donated to the Royal Botanical Gardens. Cooperative Motors Mercedes-Benz Showroom and Service Department, Collins Street, Hobart. The site is now Fuller's Bookshop. From the number plate, this picture was taken around 1969 by A.A. Bill Stevenson of Beattie Studio. He had a passion for Mercedes-Benz, although he only ever owned one, a vintage 1965 model that he got in 1990s. Photographer and family. Arch and Florence Stevenson with son A.A. Bill on an Indian motorcycle and sidecar. Judging by the baby's age, this photo was taken around 1918. The small dog was called Bingo. Arch was a photographer in Launceston and moved to Hobart to take up a position with John Watt Beattie, later buying Beattie Studio. Bill became an Australian motorcycle racing champion and an award-winning portrait photographer, and he was also my father. He did have an Indian motorcycle, but he changed to Triumphs. I do hope you've enjoyed these photos as much as I've enjoyed showing them to you. There's some amazing things there and some incredible stuff in our collection. You can see all of our photos online at www.beattiestudio.com, and it's all free. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers!